Sì, lo so che sono un Riccardo, assolutamente sì. A te invece Max Lieta R101.
So Mario Rabatini, we saw him in action a few days ago, very active in the stage 2 days ago. Oh, 3 days. It was the Glibier stage, wasn't it? He was up in the break and chased hard. Wasn't able to get to Visconti, couldn't quite get to him, and then slipped back into the clutches of Vincenzo Nibali and co. Visconti managing to hang on in there. It's been a good Giro d'Italia for the Vini Fantini team, Sean, but Rabatini, who won a stage, of course, last year and won the Mountains classification jersey, not reaching the same heights this year. But still, they've got Mauro Sant'Ambrogio towards the top of GC.
Yes, well, for a wildcard team, which means it's a team that gets an invitation into this race because they do not qualify automatically, and getting a stage win with Sant'Ambrogio, it's a good Giro for them, and they have been very aggressive in the race, been in the breakaways a lot, and I think, you know, for that team to get the performances, a stage win, and be very much present in the racing every day, a good performance from them.
Michał Golas of Poland is just working his way towards the finish. Pretty much all the Omega Pharma Quick Steps will be thinking entirely about just saving their legs as best they can for Brescia. 25 points on offer for Mark Cavendish on the finish line in Brescia at the conclusion of the 3 weeks of racing, and that could well be the difference between Cavendish making it a full house of jerseys from general classification, from Grand Tours, or not. Franco Pellizotti now, Androni Giocattoli. We've got used to seeing him wearing the tricolore of the Italian road race champion over the last few weeks. Now he's in his time trial skin suit and in the regular colours of Androni Giocattoli, Venezuela. Pellizotti seemed to be getting stronger and stronger as this race has gone on as well, and he's been more and more in the action in the last few days.
Yes, he is.
Could well be a dark horse for the break in the next couple of days.
Yes, I think for a breakaway he's looking good, and at the moment at 8.15 in general classification, down in 13th position, it's possible to get into the breakaway. You know, if there's a lot of action in these difficult stages to come, Friday and Saturday, he's a man that can, you know, get into the breakaway, and he can climb real well. So I think the position he's in at the moment, he's not going to be happy with finishing somewhere around, you know, 12th, 14th in the general classification. A stage win would be much more important for him, and I think that's what he will be thinking of. It'll be interesting to see what sort of time trial he will do here, because he's a good time trial as well, and of course the mountain time trial, the hill time trial, it will also suit him.
Yeah, he's done well in mountain time trials in the Giro before.
Yes, he has.
So whether he still retains that kind of level of motivation at this point in his career remains to be seen.
Well, I think
motivation or ability, indeed.
Well, I think the ability and the fitness that is there, because, you know, the way he's riding in the last week of this race, it's certainly looking good. The form is good. Is he motivated to do that, to conserve a place in, you know, as I said, the 12-14 position in general classification, or will he allow himself to slip back a little bit more? Lose maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes today possibly, and then he's in a real good position to get into a breakaway, because he'll not be a marked man because of general classification.
It might be to his advantage actually to have not such a good day. It's Franco Pellizotti, who of course won the mountains classification in Tour de France a few years ago, didn't he? So he's out on the flat section of this course before they get to the hill. They leave from the Mori Velodrome, just half a lap of that. And he's able to settle into those tri-bar extensions. 8 minutes and 15 seconds, as Sean says, down on general classification. 13th overall. And still a little bit too close for comfort. If the break gets a decent advantage, wouldn't be popular amongst those. The Luxembourg national time trial champion Ben Gastar is in for third fastest time. So now we await the departure of Tanel Kangert, and here is a man that I think could do a decent ride today. It all depends on how much energy he's thinking about saving for the mountains. If he's going to go absolutely flat out, then Tanel Kangert could definitely threaten the other general classification contenders. Kangert is currently 12th overall, 7 minutes and 43 seconds behind. And the man from Estonia was third in the first individual time trial on stage 8. As we see Sergio Henao, just got a still of him, so he's out on course. Riders are coming in. Steph Clement with the top time, ahead of Dario Cataldo. Cataldo's teammate, Sergio Henao, toiling away. And the weather is decent in this part of Italy. We're in the foothills of the mountains. Sergio Henao is 17th overall, 11 minutes and 18 seconds behind. Has faded somewhat in this race. Very much a star in the early stages, and many people thought that he might be perhaps an option for Sky in general classification. They did send him up the road as a stalking horse in one of the early stages, but hasn't quite been able to stay with the Vincenzo Nibali group, and well, he's crossing the chain. Some people think that looks a bit ugly, but well, you'll do what you can and do what's necessary. He's on the big ring and on the biggest sprocket at the rear. Caruso of Cannondale. Tanel Kangert working his way through this beautiful countryside. We're just north of Lake Garda, heading towards Polsa. It's a big tourist resort these days in the commune of Bertonico, crossing the beautiful Monte Baldo. Mori is a municipality of 13 villages and hamlets on the right bank of the Adige River. So Tanel Kangert is on his way towards the mountain. What can he come up with at the conclusion of 20.6 kilometres? We'll see after this.
A better one for him, and it's a power climb here. I don't think Pozzovivo is going to win this one, but still he will put in a good time. You know, he is a specialist uphill, so he shouldn't be too far off, but to win, I don't think we'll see him doing that.
An interesting stat that's come out, they've been talking about in the last couple of days, is that it's entirely possible now that Vincenzo Nibali will win the Giro. Evans could win the points and Perazzi could win the mountains without any of them winning a stage. Carlos Betancourt as well, of course, is in the young riders classification, and he's also yet to win a stage.
Yes, well, I think it's early days yet to win a stage, because there's a lot of days to come, especially the mountain stages. Today, I think, is a stage where we could see some of the real big favourites, the men up there in general classification, taking a stage victory today, as we see Carpers coming over. I was asking myself, is he still in the race? We have never seen him over the 3 weeks. He's been very quiet, hasn't he? Yeah, considering how prominent the rest of his teammates have been. Vladimir Carpets. He of the interesting tonsorial arrangements, 7th fastest for him. That interesting stat about no one having won on stage from all the different classification possible winners came from Irish Peloton, by the way. Due respect, always with the interesting stats. Trofimov now ploughing onwards, chasing the time of Steph Clement of the Blanco squad. Dario Cataldo, 2nd fastest, just 5 seconds further back. Fabio Fellin.
Well, he's pushing all the way to the line, and it's good enough for 7th fastest, so he just edges out Carpets.
Yes, and you know, he is surprised there to see him up that place in general classification.
Love the peak underneath the helmet, peaked cap, yeah. That's the way to wear a casquetta. Clearly lots of motivation for the Androni man, pushing hard.
And Trofimov here working strong here and putting in the effort. He is one who seems to be suffering in the last number of days. We did see 2 days ago that he was a little bit of difficulty on the final climb. So is he one of the men in the general classification, you know, pretty much up there in the top 20? He's around 16th at the moment. Is he starting to tire? I think we will see in this time trial what sort of performance we'll put in. We've also seen Guessing go off the starting ramp there just some 2 minutes ago, so it will be another one where he could do a good time, and I think Guessing could put in a nice performance here because he's that style of rider. He's a real strong rider, but a real good climber as well. And this distance, you know, the shorter distance, I think he could be pretty close to the top of the leaderboard when he comes in here.
James Mappin is asking, what was the red thing we saw on the chainstay of Visconti's bike? Can't exactly remember it now. Let's see if we see something similar here, but I presume it was the timing chip.
Yes, on the rear stay, left-hand side is the timing chip.
And Benjatin Schausty, he wore pink the last time trial of this race on stage 8. Been a hell of a Giro for him. Schausty has a stage win from a couple of days ago to go with the other stage wins, 3 stage wins from his teammates. Pirazzi makes it in and completes the time trial 6 minutes and 52 seconds down. He was never going to be able to add to his mountains points. There are mountains points, of course, at the finish of this stage, but he can still manage a smile. He'll have no problems. He'll definitely be wearing that jersey tomorrow, and possibly and probably through to the conclusion of the race in Brescia on Sunday. So Damiano Caruso, 24th overall, 28 minutes and 18 seconds behind. It's been quiet enough Giro d'Italia really for the Cannondale team, bearing in mind that this squad, as Liquigas last year, pretty much lit it up and were prominent in everything, trying to create the possibility for Ivan Basso to take success. Basso's withdrawal from the race on the eve of the start of this year's Giro d'Italia, well, that was a massive blow to them. Siutsu, Konstantin Siutsu of Sky Pro Cycling, another man who just wants to get through this one, so he's unlikely to trouble the time of Steph Clement, 46 minutes and 5 seconds. Having said that, he's within the final kilometre, so it's not going to be too bad a time.
No, another rider who is being pushed on, I think, the team classification. You know, you can see they are the riders who need to do it, the Sky riders, the Movistar riders, they're all under orders, and I think Sitsu is one of the ones who is really at the pushing on. He is putting in a real good time.
Yeah, I'd say it is a good effort. I think he's going to beat Steph Clement's time, but he's right in there. He's inside the final 600 metres. I think when I saw his bike and it didn't have time trial extensions, I kind of just assumed that he wasn't going to push all the way. But as you say, he's got a job to do. The team classification, as you say, Sean, is being led by the Sky team. They've led it for a good few days now, but the gap they've had is yo-yoed a little bit. It's 4 minutes and 27 seconds ahead of Astana. They've got 4:58 on the third place Blanco team. Team classification is important to teams. It does, there's money for it, but more than anything, there's a lot of prestige attached to it as well, and it does matter. It's the cumulative time of the top 3 riders from your team each day over the line. So it could be different 3 riders each day. Andrew Summerscales asks, what do they do about the timing chip if they have a bike change? Well, they have backup hand timing, of course, so there's no timing chip on the spare bike, but they have the facility to time the riders without it, but it means they've got to manually enter those times into the computer system. So Siutsu working his way towards the line. He's not going to beat Steph Clement's time of 46 minutes and 5 seconds. He's chasing the time of Ben Gastar. That's 38 seconds down on Clement. And looks as if he's going to be well inside that. Siutsu, I did him wrong, because he has been trying hard in this time trial and has come up with a strong result. Clement 46.05, Dario Cataldo 46.10, Gastar a further 28 seconds in arrears, and fifth fastest for Konstantin Siotsu of Sky Pro Cycling. It's a very strong time indeed.
È transitato il campione olimpico di Pechino 2008 Samuel Sanchez di Euskadi e ha fatto registrare il nuovo.
So Samuel Sanchez is out there and pushing hard. We did see Sanchez going for a stage victory on that downhill stage about 4 or 5 days ago. Downhill to the line, but well, he hasn't really been able to offer a whole lot, really. There was a lot of talk before the start of the Giro, Sean, that perhaps he might challenge for overall honours, but that really he might be a man for a stage win. And it hasn't happened yet, and it's been a quiet enough race from his point of view.
Yes, I think overall honours is always going to be difficult for him. If you're talking about a top 5, difficult to see him doing that now. Stage victory, that's something I was expecting to see up there, and he hasn't been good in the earlier part of the race, but he's getting better as the race go on, and the next number of days there could be an opportunity for him. Again, general classification, he's in a position where he's not going to be allowed too much time in the breakaway, because at 8:36 in general classification, a little bit close maybe for comfort, and when you get into the final days, there's a lot of riders who want to hold their place in the top 10. So if he's becoming a danger for that, it's not only the race leader, Nibali, in the mountain stage will be controlling the other riders as well. So it could be a difficult situation he's in, and but certainly the form is getting better. So I'd not count him out over the next 2 days to have a go for a stage victory, certainly.
Well, he's got stage wins in Vuelta, of course, many of those, and a stage victory in the Tour de France in the past. Now he'd certainly like to make it a full house of stages. Carlos Betancourt launches himself off the starting ramp, and this could be an important opportunity for Carlos Betancourt. I think it can be a good day for me if God wants. I did already a lot of time trials like this one, and I always had good results, so I think I can do a good job. So clearly no lack of confidence for Carlos Betancourt. And I must say, I was thinking today, this could well be Carlos Betancourt's day, Sean. I mean, it is an uphill time trial, and he's been absolutely flying. And I wonder if some of his tactics in the stages to this point haven't been, he has a little weather eye on this young rider classification that he's leading.
Well, the young rider classification, that's going to be in his mind to hold on to this jersey. We see Micah starting off there a number of minutes ago, and he's also going to give it everything here. And the way they have been riding in the mountain top finishes, the mountain days, there's not much between them. They are able to mark each other quite well. So the time trial is going to be very important, to put in a real good time trial, and Betancourt need to do that to pull some more time out of Micah. But also from Micah's point of view, he wants to get back into that white jersey. So there is a big battle there between those two riders. That are going to be really pushing and giving it their all on this time trial.
There's only 5 seconds between them. Third place in the young rider classification held by Wilco Kelderman. He's out on course as well, of course. But 5 seconds for Betancourt to save over Rafael Micah. And Micah has not been far away on each of the mountaintop finishes. Giovanni Visconti comes in. It's not going to be stage win, but still a very respectable performance by the double stage winner. 11th on the timesheet to this point. He just edges out Tobias Ludvigsen for that position. He slips in behind Serge Powell's. Steph Clemens' time of 46 minutes and 5 seconds is not threatened at this point. Matt Tweeder says, how important would correct wheel selection be in this time trial? Would a deep aero rim or shallow rim be a better choice? Shallow rim is lighter. Deep aero offers more aerodynamic advantage. Of course, they're going uphill, so the aerodynamic advantage is reduced, but still there is some there. These guys are capable of getting up this hill at around about 25 kilometers an hour. Sant'Ambrogio now prepares to depart the start ramp, and he looks a worried man. As we get down the order and work our way towards the end of the runners, you can tell how important it is. He's decided to go without the tri-bar extensions, which I find surprising. We saw that with Constantin Siutsu. Dario Cataldo went with them, of course. Amaro Sant'Ambrogio of the Vini Fantini squad suffered just that one bad day a couple of days ago. Otherwise, he's been right there or thereabouts, and he's the leading general classification man for Vini Fantini, sitting 6th overall, 4 minutes and 57 seconds behind Vincenzo Nibali. Little spots of rain on the camera lens tell you that there is a little bit of rain, and there's a little bit more rain at the finish line, but nothing that's really going to trouble the riders or affect their performance, I don't believe. Samuel Sanchez settles into the pain. Been with Euskaltel throughout his career. Now 35 years of age. Best performance, that 4th place finish into Bardonecchia 5 days ago. As Duarte of Colombia makes his way to the line, this is going to be a good time for him. He's not going to get ahead of Steph Clement, but still it's a good effort. So Duarte across the line, 3rd fastest for the Colombian rider, edges Ben Gastar out of the podium positions for the moment. We're going to see big movements there, but well, there's no lack of effort. Lost about half a kilo there.
Yes, and in time trialing, you know, when you're really giving it everything,
not the most elegant thing, is it?
When you drink something, it doesn't settle on the stomach. We could see Duarte there, you know, not the drink he had a little bit earlier, coming back up, and it's not something that's unusual at all. I've experienced myself on a number of occasions. When you're really giving it 100%, it does happen.
Yeah, that just shows that he's trying. Professional cyclists look so good on a bike, and they are able to transfer every little bit of energy into the pedals in such a way that it almost seems as if they're not making an effort. But Duarte telling us that that's absolutely the opposite case. Samuel Sanchez makes his way up the hill, makes a little adjustment to avoid the photographer. Taking every inch of road that he can. That spectator was well to the side of the road. Now Niemitz, who's been a very interesting rider. We're talking about him a little bit earlier. Now 33 years of age. His first Grand Tour just 2 years ago at the age of 31. And well, he's a real contender in this year's Giro d'Italia. One of 2 Lampre Merida riders in the top 10. The other, of course, being the man directly above him on general classification, Michele Scarponi. And Niemitz is just 4 minutes and 13 seconds in arrears heading into this time trial. 2 Polish riders in the top 8. Who would have thought it? As Diego Rosa, his interesting style, is about to produce a pretty strong time, though. Rosa's been on the attack in recent days. The Androni Giocattoli team, well, they've made a name for themselves with attacking, aggressive racing, and they've certainly justified their inclusion and their organisers' invitation. Diego Rosa slipping down. Stephen Cummings currently sitting 8th fastest, 1 minute and 3 seconds behind Steph Clement. Dario Cataldo 5 seconds further back. Duarte's 3rd fastest time is 23 seconds slower than Steph Clement. Pain is almost over for Diego Rosa. Will he slip out of the top 10?
Potrebbe essere Diego Rosa, seguito da della Movista. Intanto vediamo proprio
Across the line for 11th fastest time, Diego Rosa. just clear of Giovanni Visconti and just behind the time set by Vladimir Karpets. So Steph Clement hangs on to that top time at the moment, 46 minutes and 5 seconds. Dario Cataldo, Fabio Duarte, Ben Gaspar, Tom Danielson are the top 5 runners at the moment.
Sammy Sanchez working at it here, but doesn't look like to be giving his all. He's looking too comfortable there, the way he's sitting and just turning it away.
Well, it's a very good intermediate split time from Sanchez.
Yes, it's amazing, you know, some of these riders, the way they can just ride up the climb. You mentioned a moment ago, you know, the professionals, they look so good, and he's sitting there, and I would, you know, say he's not giving it his 100% at the moment, because normally you would see the guy in the saddle for 100 metres, then out of the saddle, you know, just to keep the rhythm going and back into the saddle again, and that movement all the time. And he's just sitting there and spinning away, but the time and the watch is the one which tell the real truth.
So now Michele Scarponi launches himself off the start ramp at the Velodrome in Mori and heads out for 20.6 kilometres of pain and suffering. Danilo De Luca, his fellow countryman from the Vini Fantini team, is almost finished, and it's a good solid effort from him. He goes to third fastest. He certainly does, ahead of Duarte. Danilo De Luca still capable of making the big efforts. 26th overall, over half an hour down. Not an overall contender, and has tried to get into a situation to give him stage success without success so far in this race. Still a couple of opportunities for him in the Alps stroke Dolomites in the next couple of days. Caruso's pushing hard, and look at this. He was third fastest at the intermediate split point. We're getting the intermediate split point times now. They're not entirely reliable, but we understand that he was about 2 seconds slower than Cataldo and about 19 seconds slower than Samuel Sanchez. So Damiano Caruso has saved a big performance for this final individual time trial. Well, less than a minute to get to the line to edge out Steph Clements. Steph Clements' time 5th fastest, so fastest riders at the first split not necessarily always coming through to the top of the timesheet, but Damiano Caruso looks like, well, he certainly is going to make it. Superb performance from Damiano Caruso. He edges out Steph Clement. Just edge him out, fully 16 seconds to the good. So now we have a new man on the top of the timesheets. It's Damiano Caruso of the Cannondale squad. So Damiano Caruso now is the fastest man in the individual time trial from Mori to Polsa. Pain is over, and it was worth it. Caruso now with a 16-second advantage over Steph Clement. Michele Scarponi is out there. He's gone for the aero extensions. Someone taking exception to me calling them tri-bar extensions. I suppose it's a while since triathlon gave them to cycling. Still a lot of people call them tri-bar extensions, but certainly are aero extensions, as Rigoberto Urán, always a very relaxed rider, doesn't get too wound up. You can be sure his heart is thumping inside his chest at the moment, though. This is a big moment for Rigoberto Urán as he attempts to hang on to his podium position from Michele Scarponi, and for Urán, he'll have one eye on that podium pace. Well, we will have 20 kilometres ahead of us, and I think the team can do a good job. I don't see the top riders losing too much time tomorrow, because they're used to these kind of stages. I don't think it will really make the difference. But for sure you need to pay attention and control well your energies. So no huge commitment in terms of his expectation from Uran. But he knows that Michele Scarponi is very close to him on general classification. Uran sitting in third place, 2 minutes and 46 seconds behind Vincenzo Nibali. And just 7 seconds to the good ahead of Michele Scarponi for that third place. Carlos Betancourt. Well, he's so short, a sort of stocky style. It's an upright style, and that's probably a factor as much of his size on the bike, the shape of him.
Yes, and just sitting there and pedalling away. Look like he's out on a Sunday morning ride, but you can be sure that he's going at a real fast rate again. Looking so comfortable on the climb there, as we see Francis Moret coming in. Also a good time. He is getting good as the race go on here. We've seen him in the last week. He's in the leading group on a lot of occasions, so finishing the Giro quite well and finishing up strongly.
Yeah, 22nd overall going into today's stage. The cyclocross man, well used to 45 minutes to an hour of massive intensity. Now we wait for Cadel Evans to make his appearance, and this is an important moment for Cadel Evans in his stage racing career. Former winner of the Tour de France. Well, he remains a winner of the Tour de France, probably not the word to use. Winner of the 2011 Tour de France, Cadel Evans. But what are the opportunities for him to get involved in closing the gap on Vincenzo Nibali? To this point in their careers, Evans would always have said that, and everyone else would have said that he was the better time trialer, but this stage goes uphill pretty much all the way, and Vincenzo Nibali has looked peerless every time the road has climbed in this year's Giro. Cadel Evans gets his time trial underway, 20.6 kilometers to go.
Penso che a metà tra il cronome, no, il cronome è vero, però il cronome in più che si difende in salita, e lo scalatore. Lo scalatore può far bene, però magari la prima
it's a short stage, but it climbs all the time, so I think it'll take around 30 to 35 minutes for each rider. Quite demanding time trial, so we need to count the kilometers, but it'll be all about the climb. It's divided into two parts. First is more relaxed with a gradient of around 6 to 7%. Then there's the flat part of about a kilometre with just a tiny slope. And then there's the more demanding part with a gradient of 12%. Evgeny Petrov is on a good one for Saxo Tinkoff. Well, he's not going to edge out Steph Clement, but still Evgeny Petrov within the last 100 metres gets the cheer. Can he hang on to the third position? Can he replace? Well, no, he slips back. So Petrov ends up fifth. Caruso stays on top of the timesheet by 16 seconds from Steph Clement. Dario Cataldo third place. Danilo De Luca currently fourth ahead of Duarte and Gastar. Those are the top 6 times. Gastar 54 seconds behind Caruso. And now Vincenzo Nibali awaits his moment. The race leader prepares to set off from Mori. He's looked so confident throughout this Giro d'Italia. And certainly no signs of stress as he awaits his departure point. Winner of Vuelta a España in 2010, but this would mean a whole lot more. A second Grand Tour success, but his home tour, well, that would mean everything. Sant'Ambrogio out on course, out of the saddle, tries to get a little bit more. Sant'Ambrogio 6th overall. Vincenzo Nibali goes for road bike setup with aero extensions. Road helmet as well. The crowd count him down, and Vincenzo Nibali leaves the start ramp at the Velodrome in Mori and departs for his rendezvous with 20.6 kilometers of very, very demanding roads. Demanding in terms of gradient. And Nibali already into his stride. The intermediate split point is set at 9.5 kilometers. Samuel Sanchez has the current best time, 21 minutes and 7 seconds. Dario Cataldo second fastest to that point, 17 seconds down. Michele Scarponi's well into the hill element, grinding his way towards Polsa. We'll see how he and the rest get on after these. So Samuel Sanchez within the final stages of this individual time trial to Polsa from Mori, chasing the time of Damiano Caruso of the Cannondale squad. It's raining now at the finish line as he piles on the watts towards the line once more and finishes off with a superb time, 45.27, and that has put it up to the riders coming behind him. Comfortably inside Damiano Caruso's time by 22 seconds. Steph Clement now slips to a third position for Blanco. Cataldo of Sky is pushed off the podium. Danilo De Luca slips to fifth. And all of the riders are out on course. Carlos Betancourt coming to the intermediate checkpoint, comes up with second fastest time. So this is an absolute flyer of a time from Carlos Betancourt. Bearing in mind that he had the flat section at the start and the little bit of flat road in between that before the intermediate split point. Well, if he has saved something for the steeper second half of this course, then could be a really, really extraordinary, wonderful time from Carlos Betancourt. Those are the major riders, the major general classification riders out on course. Bottom right is the race leader, Vincenzo Nibali of the Astana team. Bottom left is Cadel Evans of BMC, sitting second on general classification at the moment. Rigoberto Urán top right for Sky Pro Cycling, and he is just a handful of seconds advantage over Michele Scarponi of the Lampre Merida squad. And all of these riders have something to chase for. Carlos Betancourt has two different things to chase for. Well, he's well up on general classification. 7th overall, 5 minutes and 15 seconds down, but has just 5 seconds advantage in the young rider competition over Rafael Maica. Maica has been very impressive, 7 seconds slower than Samuel Sanchez through the first intermediate split point. But at the halfway point, Betancourt came up with second fastest time, so Betancourt, it looks as well, I'm waiting for full confirmation. Not the most reliable intermediate split times that we're getting, but I do believe it could well be that Betancourt has gone a little bit faster than Rafael Maica through that intermediate split point at 9.5 kilometres. That, though, to be confirmed. Either way, there's not a lot in it, and both Rafael Maica and Carlos Betancourt are heading for very strong times indeed. Well, Richard Bromley's asking, do the riders' times start when they start? Are they tripping a beam with the chip or on the countdown zero? Sometimes they jump the gate by a fraction of a second. Well, that's interesting observation. It's very much when the countdown goes to zero, because each rider is, has a particular start time, and the clock starts once you reach that time, regardless of whether you're at the gate or not. Perazzi missed his slot, didn't he, in the first time trial? Vincenzo Nibali settles into his rhythm. Superb performance in the first time trial. finishing in 4th position, 21 seconds down on Alex Dowsett. If you just tuned in, Alex Dowsett started much earlier and had problems, had to change his bike to change from the time trial bike as a result of gear selection issues, and went over to a regular road bike, and that upset his rhythm. Wouldn't have been a time trial for him really, but no doubt he would have given it his all in his British National Time Trial Champions colours. So Vincenzo Nibali, quite a lot of talk in the Italian press in the last few days about the fact that he hasn't taken a stage victory yet, and that where are the opportunities for him to do it? Well, today is a pretty good opportunity. This is a time trial for the general classification contenders. Not too many time trial specialists are likely to be interlopers in the top 10 here, Sean.
No, it's really a strongman's course, as we see Sammy Sanchez there, and to me he looked like he wasn't really going for it all, but it's the clock that tells the true story, and he certainly put in a really good time there. Will he be good enough to hold on to get a stage victory? That is going to be an interesting one, because we have the big men out on course now, and we can see Cadel Evans here working away at it. We can see Nibali there looking very comfortable as well, sitting there and in the time trial position and just working away at it. And we also see Micah and Betancourt there on our split screen, and there's a big battle on there, of course, for the young jersey classification.
Yeah, just 1 second between them through the intermediate split point at Brentonico after 9.5 kilometres. Carlos Betancourt second to Samuel Sanchez through there, but just 6 seconds down on the Spaniard, and Betancourt just 1 second faster than the man that he's going hammer and tongs against for this young rider classification. Rigoberto Urán looks to be in a very, very settled position. He looks very steady. It's a little adjustment, just as I say it, inevitably, but betrays so little of the effort that he's making on his face, and indeed his body's not moving around, so looks to be in control of his physical effort at the moment. Niemiec, second fastest, or will it be? Niemiec goes 4th fastest, 8 seconds down, but still a very, very impressive time at the intermediate split point. Just behind Rafael Micah by 1 second, 2 seconds behind Carlos Betancourt, and just 8 seconds down on Samuel Sanchez. So Niemiec of the Lampre Merida team, 5th overall, of course. Only 20 seconds down on the 4th position off his teammate Michele Scarponi. So he's definitely in with a shout at the podium as well, Niemiec, and we haven't spoken too much about him in the last couple of weeks. He's kind of been under the radar a little bit, but he's been in that leaders group every day, day in, day out, without any apparent difficulty.
Yes, and both from the Lampre Merida team, Scarponi and Niemiec, I think the team is just waiting for today's stage, the time trial, see what the positions in general classification at the end of the time trial. And with 2 men up there in the top 5 in general classification at the moment, they could definitely cause problems as well in these 2 difficult stages to come. So if both can hold on to that places on general classification, I think we should see them trying something in the mountain stages, and trying to shake it up a bit, and hopefully move into a position where they could get onto the podium place in this Giro.
So both Rigoberto Urán and Michele Scarponi both well into the climbing element of this stage, both on the small ring. Stage starts at the Velodrome de Mori, half a lap of the warm-up track there, and then to the town centre. And the climb starts from 19 kilometres to go out of the 20.6 kilometres. Franco Pellizotti finishes inside the top 10. Good performance from the Androni Giocattoli man, as we see Vincenzo Nibali with 15 kilometres to go. Looks to be settled into a good rhythm for the Magliarosa man as he chases the time of Samuel Sanchez, 45.27. Rigoberto Urán chases hard in the individual time trial, stage 18, as he works his way up the climb from Mori to Pozza in his efforts to hang on to his podium position. Just a handful of seconds ahead of Michele Scarponi, of course, and perhaps he'll look to put some time into Cadel Evans and Vincenzo Nibali ahead of him. Still in the first half of this time trial, 21 minutes exactly is the target time at the first split point at Brentonico after 9.5 kilometres. And Urán, the Sky Pro Cycling team leader since the departure of Bradley Wiggins, has really emerged as a top stage race contender. All sorts of rumours that he's leaving Sky at the end of the year. In fact, his manager pretty much confirmed it a couple of days ago. He said, well, he's out of contract and he wants to be a team leader. He wants to head up a team. Not too many opportunities at Sky, and the rumours are that he could well be on his way to Omega Pharma Quickstep as a teammate to Mark Cavendish. And Mark Cavendish would be delighted to hear that the team would be split between GC and stage and points victories.
Well, it's early days yet, I think, you know, for team movement. And of course, with the manager, that's their job, to make teams aware that he's looking out, he's open to offers, and that's all about, you know, pushing his offers up, I suppose. If you make it aware that you're interested in moving from the team you're in to a new team, well then it attracts all the director sportives.
So Rigoberto Urán is in the shop window at the moment. He's out of contract at the end of the year. He's not thinking about that right now. All he cares about is coming up with the best possible time to try and hold off Michele Scarponi and indeed close on Cadel Evans. Rafael Majka is driving hard, and this is worrying times for Rigoberto Urán. 48 seconds down on Michele Scarponi. So at the moment he's losing his podium position unless he's saved a massive amount for the second half of this time trial, or perhaps Scarponi has really burnt too many matches in the first half. This could be a worry for Rigoberto Urán. Pozzovivo in the closing stages. And we did say that it probably just wasn't quite steep enough to suit his particular talents. Little micro climber, and yet you have spotted it right. Tweets coming in. I see umbrellas at the finish line. It's raining. This is not going to be a major problem for the riders. It's not as if they're going fast enough for it to be particularly technical, and they're plenty warmed up, I can tell you. And they'll get under wraps. So Pozzovivo, good solid time from him. 11th overall, 7:34 behind starting this time trial. Never going to trouble that time of Samuel Sanchez, 45.27. Cadel Evans, though, will hope that he can. But that was a worrying first split for Rigoberto Urán. Seems to there's an awful lot of daylight between himself and Scarponi.
There is, and it's going to be worrying times if Rigoberto Urán is really suffering and losing that much to Scarponi, as we can see here, getting wet out on course as well, and that's going to make it a little bit dangerous on this little bit of a descent they have here. They have to be careful, but it's so little, it's not going to make a great difference. Maybe 2-3 seconds you can lose because of the wet road here at the moment, but Scarponi is putting in a big performance.
Yeah, it's 1 minute and 7 seconds between them on GC. I'm not sure what I said a few minutes ago. 1 minute and 7 seconds, a massive gap between them in relative terms, but still Scarponi is going to a hell of a lot better in the first half of this time trial. Yes, well, he's a major danger.
He's eating into it big time. When you look at the first intermediate check, if Scarponi can keep going at that rate and Rigoberto Urán cannot respond to it, and really finish strongly in the final part of the time trial, well then he is going to lose a lot of his advantage.
So Samuel Sanchez waits anxiously at the finish line as virtual times out on course indicate that Vincenzo Nibali could well be losing a few seconds, but it is very much early stages for Nibali and Cadel Evans. He'll be cheered up this hill and he will chase that motorbike like a carrot on a stick. All the way to the finish line. Rafał Majka suffering hard now. His cadence has dropped considerably. Cadel Evans. Well, very disappointing time. 22 minutes.
Yeah. 1 minute down on the time of Scarponi, so he is also losing time here, and that is a surprise to see him that far off Scarponi, because Scarponi, you would expect him to put in a sort of time trial, but nothing really major, and to see Evans down a minute at this point, it's not looking good.
Yeah, so was that time check indicating that Cadel has lost it more than a minute to Vincenzo Nibali? I thought it was suggesting that they just gained 3 seconds on Nibali, but perhaps I've got the calculations wrong again. We don't have intermediate split times. They're not updating terribly quickly here in the commentary box, but Vincenzo Nibali is pushing on, and Cadel Evans suffering out there. Has he saved anything for the second half? It is a bit steeper, although it is relatively constant, as I said. 6% for the first half of this time trial to the intermediate split point. That's the average. And then 7 to 8% for the final 7 kilometres up to Polsa. Robert Hessink of the Blanco team. So unfortunate in unshipping his chain a couple of days ago when he was in position for a stage win that would have given him a massive morale boost. Nibali absolutely thundering along. Look at this time from Vincenzo Nibali to Brendan Eco. So he's put 123. That is confirmation. He's put 123 into Cadel Evans already. Stunning performance from Vincenzo Nibali. Look at this. Taking every tenth of a second he can get out of the corners, but it's what he's doing in between the corners that's equally epic. And he sounded so confident before this time trial. It's rare that you would hear Samuel Sanchez looks on and perhaps understands that unless Vincenzo Nibali hits major difficulties, Sanchez is unlikely to win this time trial. Scarponi could well unseat Samuel Sanchez if he saved something for the second half of this time trial. But for how long will he do that? Cadel Evans, his dreams of Giro d'Italia glory could well be taking a major knock here. 1:31, so another 8 seconds gained within the last couple of kilometres. And Nibali's absolutely flying.
Yes, and he looks looks really good there, sitting and in the position, not a lot of movement on his bike, and putting in a real fast time. If he can keep it going at this, well then any hope the general classification men had second and third, fourth position. They're really going to take a morale blow here if Nibali can keep up this one and win this time trial like it's looking to be.
Michele Scarponi was fastest to the first intermediate split at Brentanico after 9.5 kilometres, but that time has been obliterated by Vincenzo Nibali. And the question came in on Twitter, is Nibali on a good day or is Cadel Evans on a bad day?
Well, I think when you look at the times after that 9.5 kilometres, looked at Nibali is showing once again that he is in the form of his life, and really putting in stronger performances as the days go on. And that time it's just a real good performance from Nibali. I think Cadel Evans, he's down on his best, because when you see at that point at the 9.5 kilometres, you're 1 minute down. It's not where he should be. I think Scarponi's time, somewhere within 10 or 15 seconds of Scarponi, that would be where he should be, but not looking good for Cadel Evans. Rigoberto Urán also at 48 at the 9.5. He's losing his time. So general classification there for the second and third places. It's going to be an interesting one. We could see some changes there.
Well, Rafał Majka is really suffering. He's grinding his way uphill. He's well inside the closing stages, inside the final kilometre. pushing his way to the line. And has less than a minute to make it if he's going to replace Samuel Sanchez at the top of the times. Rafał Majka of Poland has given his all, and I think he'd probably like this time trial to be over about half a kilometre ago.
Or halfway down the climb.
Or not to have done it in the first place. So Rafał Majka pushes on, less than half a minute to go. Can he make it? Out of the saddle for one final effort. Rain really falling heavily now at the finish in Polsa. And he's not going to do it, I don't think. 250 metres to go. It's still very, very steep at this point. And Rafał Majka is not quite going to unseat Samuel Sanchez. So the super experienced Spaniard shows no emotion as the clock winds on, and Majka will hope that he can better Damiano Caruso, but more importantly he'll hope that he can better Carlos Betancourt, who's one man behind him off the start ramp. Carlos Betancourt and himself were just a second apart through the intermediate split point, and Majka really suffered up that finishing hill and finishes with third fastest time, 27 seconds down. Great effort from Rafał Majka, just ahead of Stefan Clement of Blanco. Dario Cataldo slips to fifth for Team Sky. Sanchez still sitting there. I don't think these weather conditions are really going to play a big part in it for these riders, are they, Sean?
No, I don't think there's going to be any major difference. We did see when Scarponi and Nibali, of course, on the little bit of downhills they will have to just, knock off the pace a little bit. But it's such a short time. They will 2-3 seconds maybe. As you can see, Nibali, he is just taking a little bit of tension on the corners, where the guys who went through, you could go through with full rate here. You could just keep on the power and pedal through those corners. You have to be a little bit careful in the situation at the moment, but I don't think it's going to cause any major big upsets.
Yeah, there might be a trade of a second here or there, but of course the main general classification riders have the same weather conditions. Cadel Evans ploughs on, and Mark Gill asks, Cadel seemed to hold it off back in the first time trial for the finishing climb and still finished well. Maybe the same plan today. Well, that is true. His finishing split was way faster than his positions in the first two splits, particularly the first one. Actually, the middle one. I think the middle sector of that time trial, Cadel Evans quite a way down, but still managed to finish well up in the time trial. But for all that, he did finish behind Vincenzo Nibali in that first time trial. So saving it didn't really work out on that occasion. Carlos Betancourt now chasing for the line. Two times he needs to look at that of Samuel Sanchez, 45.27, and the finishing time of Rafał Majka. So Carlos Betancourt in the white jersey, or at least the white skin suit of the leader of the young rider classification. One of a raft of star Colombian riders that have appeared in the last few years. Rigoberto Urán also in the top 8 positions. 2 Poles and 2 Colombians in the top 8. Billy Wilson is speculating that Vincenzo Nibali could well catch Cadel Evans. He's put a minute and a half into him in the first half of this time trial, so it's entirely possible. 3 minutes between them off the start ramp. That would be the ultimate ignominy. Betancourt is not going to be fastest, and he could well lose some time to Rafał Majka here.
Yes, he is going to lose time, and he's going to lose his young jersey classification.
So he's got 5 seconds after this, so when the clock gets to 59, Rafał Majka will move into the young riders classification jersey. Oh, this 1 second, maybe less than 2 seconds between Carlos Betancourt and Rafał Majka for the young jersey classification. What an effort from Carlos Betancourt. Just comes up short, but still virtually nothing to choose between them. 7 seconds between them in the time trial, and Betancourt just had 5 in hand. So that white jersey will once again change hands, and Rafał Majka will be back in it. for tomorrow's big mountain stage, but Betancourt will believe that he has the legs in the climbs to perhaps distance Micah. So that's a superb competition between those two riders, and both of them well up on general classification. Vincenzo Nibali at the top of general classification, absolutely flying. Every single person on this mountain, it seems, is cheering for Vincenzo Nibali, and he's put another 10 seconds into Cadel Evans. Worrying moments for Evans, as he can see his Giro d'Italia slipping away, and I wonder, well, at least from his point of view, Rigoberto Urán also seemed to be struggling.
Yes, while to win this Giro, he is going to be, getting the time checks here, and he'll be made aware, that he's losing time to Vincenzo Nibali. Is he made aware of exactly how much he's losing? Sometimes the team directors say, yes, you're a little bit down, 30 seconds, 35 seconds, you have to try and finish this one real strong, and that's the encouragement the director gives to the rider, and just to keep him going, because if you tell him he's lost 1:40, well then, you hit the morale big time, and it's difficult to keep your concentration. So it's all about what Cadel Evans can pull out of the bag here, but certainly for the overall victory, it's going to be a big blow for Evans here today, and the places on the podium, that's going to be an interesting one now, because we can see Scarponi is really pushing on. Rigoberto Urán is also suffering, so for Cadel Evans, a place on the podium is looking okay, but will he hold on to that second place the way Scarponi is going? He could also put him under difficulty with that second step.
Yeah, Scarponi gained exactly a minute at the 9.5 kilometre point. Not quite the halfway point, but very close to it. Rigoberto Urán didn't come up with the best first split either. What can he do? Samuel Sanchez still at the top of the times. So Vincenzo Nibali piles on the pain and the hurt for himself, and indeed for Cadel Evans. Evans will no doubt have been made aware. He's got the radio on board, and Rigoberto Urán, that composed look about him, relatively low cadence, riding a big gear, and getting very low over the bars. Nice position, a nice effort, but well, he was only 17th fastest at the intermediate split point. 1 minute and 19 seconds down on the time of Vincenzo Nibali. That was 12 seconds faster than Cadel Evans, as we see Mauro Sant'Ambrogio. Sant'Ambrogio doesn't like the time trials. Suffered in the first one. Finished 25th in the stage 8 time trial. Lost 2 minutes and 56 seconds to Alex Dowsett. He's going to lose time to Samuel Sanchez and the rest today. The man from Vini Fantini sitting 6th overall on general classification, but well, now he's 20th, so Sant'Ambrogio could well slip further down the order as a result of that performance, not to his liking. Cadel Evans presses on. Most of the riders using road bikes with aero extensions, some choosing the time trial bike. Really very little to choose between them. The road bikes are just that little bit lighter, and as this one goes uphill, and it doesn't go, you never get up to a particularly fast top speed, apart from those couple of sections, one little section of downhill and a couple of sections of flat road, but only a couple of kilometers of that in total. Therefore, the road bike deemed the better option. Seems to be working for Vincenzo Nibali, seems to be working a little bit less for Cadel Evans. That's probably a little bit more to do with the amount of power they're able to put into it. 2 minutes between them now. And remember, Cadel Evans was 1 minute and 26 seconds in arrears starting this time trial. He's now slipped Almost 3.5 minutes behind Niemiec. What an effort from him. 5th overall. Isn't going to beat Samuel Sanchez. Not going to beat Damiano Caruso either. And he'll be more concerned with his time versus his teammate Michele Scarponi. Scarponi 4th and Niemiec 5th at the moment on general classification. So Przemysław Niemiec slips to 6th, and this hasn't been the test that he might have liked. Total commitment, one final effort all the way to the line in pouring rain. And Niemiec inside the top 10, so not a bad effort. But he's got Michele Scarponi coming up the hill behind him, and I think he's going to trip the beam within 3 minutes. So Michele Scarponi was briefly fastest at the intermediate split point until he was replaced by Vincenzo Nibali. 31 seconds slower than Nibali, but faster than everyone else. And importantly, 7 seconds faster than Samuel Sanchez to that point. So has Scarponi saved enough for this hill, this second half of this time trial? Looks as if he has. And inside the final 600 metres, he has more than a minute in hand to get to the line. Will it be enough?
It's going to be also a tight one, but he's finishing quite strong. And again, you know, the final couple of 100 metres, depending on how strong you can finish. Scarponi, he's not going to be concerned too much about Samuel Sanchez's time, because I don't think the stage victory is going to be for either of them, with the way Nibali is riding in the earlier checkpoints. But of course, the general classification for Scarponi, he's pushing on, and he knows that you know, he can really get into a position where he can get on the podium for the moment, and then see in the days to come. And he's putting in a good solid time trial once again.
Well, Betancourt stepped away from the press area as soon as he found out he'd lost his white Young Riders classification jersey to Rafael Majka. Both Betancourt and Majka, I think, could well move ahead of Sant'Ambrosio on general classification. So Sant'Ambrosio could lose a couple of positions, could slip to about 8th. We'll wait for full confirmation of that. Sanchez shakes his head, because, well, I don't know why he's shaking his head. He hangs on to that position at the top of the timesheets. Michele Scarponi didn't quite save enough for the second half of this time trial, and he works his way to the line. Damiano Caruso too, likely. Will he hang on to that second position? It's going to be tight, but Michele Scarponi won't manage to win this time trial. Indeed, he won't manage to finish second either. Third is the best that he can hope for, and he's unlikely indeed to finish in the top 3 position either, because Vincenzo Nibali is absolutely storming up the hill behind him. So there's the confirmation of the standing. Scarponi goes to 3rd, but Samuel Sanchez hangs on to that position by 22 seconds. Rigoberto Urán, 17th fastest at the intermediate split point for the Sky Pro Cycling man. And there's Vincenzo Nibali, and Cadel Evans is a hell of a lot less than 3 minutes ahead of him, as you can see. 2 minutes was the last time check we got between them. Vincenzo Nibali was 2 minutes faster to that point. That means that there would be 1 minute between them on the road, if you understand.
And we can see Rigoberto Urán's time coming through there. He seemed to have made up on this second half of the climb, because he was, you know, quite a long ways out after 9.5 kilometres. It hasn't been slipping anything out like it was in the first part, because he was 1:19 down on Nibali. At the moment, I don't think he's suffering as much as he was. He seemed to have pushed on a bit, but again,
might have been a bit too conservative in the first half then.
Possibly, yes. And just making the calculation, I have to keep it a little bit for the final part, the final couple of kilometres. And he seems to be, as we can see here, on Samuel Sanchez time, he's certainly, doing a good time when you compare with Sanchez's finishing time.
So good second half for Rigoberto Urán. Has he paced himself absolutely perfectly? He's dragging himself a lot closer to than he was Samuel Sanchez, as Sean has said. Was more than 40 seconds faster, was he? To the intermediate split point. Urán is suffering now, though. You can see it. It's etched on his face. Inside 400 metres to go. Absolutely nothing being left at this point. That's assuming there's anything left to give. Now the Colombian rider finished 7th in last year's Giro d'Italia, and of course won the Young Riders classification. So piling it on, racing to the line. He's not going to beat Samuel Sanchez, but it's going to be a decent time from Rigoberto Urán. Clicks it up a gear, gets out of the saddle and drives the last couple of 100 metres. Rigoberto Urán crosses the line, 5th fastest for the Colombian, 28 seconds behind Samuel Sanchez. Managed to close the gap a little in the second half, but not enough. And Rigoberto Urán's going to have to be satisfied to lose just under half a minute. Lost a few seconds here and there to Rafael Maica and Carlos Betancourt as well. Or Scarponi, but they just moved ahead of Betancourt. Vincenzo Nibali. It's the steepest slopes at the point where his legs are hurting the most. And he's almost caught Cadel Evans. There is Evans ahead. Will he get him before the line?
1,300 metres, 1,200 metres for Evans at the moment, and we can see Nibali. He's really, pushing on here. He can see the cars behind Cadel Evans out in front, and we can see, he's on a real big gear there and looking real powerful, standing up on the pedals, and it's quite possible we could see him just getting onto Cadel Evans before they get to the finish line.
Well, Steve points out on Twitter, Evans' time is good news for Cav and the points jersey. That's a good point, although in fairness, I don't think Cadel Evans is thinking about that right now. Mark Cavendish might be. He's done and dusted. He's well in. His time trial is finished. He managed to get it completed in the dry. Inside the final kilometre for Cadel Evans. Can he at least hold off Vincenzo Nibali? Not trade 3 minutes. I think there's a good chance he will do. Yeah. Vincenzo Nibali through that hairpin is still quite a way behind, but he's going to dominate this time trial. So Vincenzo Nibali ducks down over the bars, looks up again, ducks down, looks up again. It's a constant repetition of movement, but what he's doing on the pedals is absolute poetry and perfection at the moment, because he's almost 3 minutes faster than Cadel Evans, about 2 3/4 minutes faster to this point of the time trial than his nearest rival in the general classification. So Vincenzo Nibali is not just at the moment heading for stage honours, but he's also looks likely to massively extend his lead in the overall classification. So he could be about to deliver the stage win that the Italian public has demanded, and with it deliver a hammer blow to the GC ambitions of Cadel Evans, Rigoberto Urán and the rest. Cadel Evans has suffered today. Damiano Caruso's second place time is not in threat, and still Cadel Evans has 450 metres left of this agony. And now inside 500 metres for Vincenzo Nibali. So plenty of support for Cadel Evans. Samuel Sanchez is less concerned with the time that's been presented to him by the Australian, and more, I think, with the performance of Vincenzo Nibali. He's sat there for a long time, but he's shaking his head because he knows in his heart of hearts that having sat in the hot seat for such a long time, it's the last man out there that will replace him at the top of the timesheets. Cadel Evans making his way to the line, out of the saddle, pushing for all he's worth, and he won't give up because, well, he knows that he's got to try and save his podium position as well, of course. Outside the point scoring positions, for what that's worth, for Cav followers, as Cadel Evans completes the time trial, 24th position for him. Massive disappointment. 1 minute and 38 seconds down on the time of Samuel Sanchez. But here comes Vincenzo Nibali, the last man over the line, and he will go to the top of the timesheets. One final effort, and he's got a minute to cover the last 100 metres. And that's all you need to know. That has been all about Vincenzo Nibali, who delivers the stage victory and punches the air in delight, because there's nothing to touch. Vincenzo Nibali takes victory in stage 18 of the Giro d'Italia. Disappointment for Samuel Sanchez, who finishes a fine second, but nonetheless not one position off where he would like to be. But Vincenzo Nibali with that performance, and look at that, 58 seconds ahead of Samuel Sanchez. 121 ahead of Michele Scarponi, 125 ahead of Rafael Maica, 132 ahead of Carlos Betancourt. Absolutely annihilating them all. Disappointment on the face of Samuel Sanchez. He doesn't know where to go now. This the moment that the agony ended for Cadel Evans, but never really on his game, and not the sort of time trial performance that we've come to expect from Cadel Evans over the years. But it has been a good Giro d'Italia for a man that wasn't expected to be an overall contender, indeed, at the beginning of... Still, he had dared to believe that he could challenge Vincenzo Nibali, and now I think he needs a miracle. He needs a bad day for Vincenzo Nibali, and there have been no signs of those to this point, Sean.
No, certainly not. And as the race go on, we've been talking about it, we can see the overall standings here.
Well, look at that. There's only 10 seconds between Cadel Evans and Rigoberto Urán, with Vincenzo Nibali now 4 minutes to the good on the general classification. Scarponi is just over a minute behind Rigoberto Urán. Niemitz there in 5th, and Maica and Betancourt move up. So Cadel Evans now threatened for 2nd position, so instead of perhaps moving closer to Vincenzo Nibali, he finds himself in a bit of a dogfight for that 3rd position, 2nd position that he's got. Damiano Caruso, great effort from him to finish in 3rd position on the stage. This is the man that finished 2nd. Wasn't to be for Samuel Sanchez. Gave his all and believed that he could do it. What has he got left for the mountains over the next couple of days? And Nibali is a changed man this year. The move to Astana has worked wonders in so many ways.
Well, I think he's been coming up over the last couple of years. He's just improving as an all-round rider. The mountains, 3-week tours, his time trial definitely have improved a lot. And this mountain time trial, what a performance today!
And now that stat about all the classification jerseys been taken by riders who haven't won a stage. Well, Mark Cavendish hangs on to his points jersey. He's won 4 of them, and Vincenzo Nibali leads general classification, and he has finally won a stage.
It all changes in 20.6 kilometres.
It's not done yet, though. That's only 20.6. They've a lot of mountains to climb over the next couple of days. And only opportunities, I think, really, for Vincenzo Nibali. Do you think he'll strike out a little bit? Do you think with such a cushion he might actually take a risk and maybe go for it a bit on the hills?
Yes, well, I think with an advantage over Cadel Evans, who is starting to struggle, 4 minutes and 2. Urán at 4:12 and Scarponi at 5:14. I think in Nibali we could see him in some of the big stages, can afford to take a little bit of risk in the final kilometres. If the stage is to play for the final 2-3 kilometres, now with the advantage he's got in the overall position, he can afford to risk a bit for a big stage victory on a mountain stage.
Vincenzo Nibali in Maglia Rosa takes victory in Polsa. It's pouring rain, perhaps appropriate at the conclusion of this time trial, given the rain that we've found, the horrible weather we've had throughout this race so far. He punches the air. He knows he's won it. You can tell what that means to him. A little bit of sunshine poking through the clouds. There's confirmation of the overall standings. 4 minutes and 2 seconds now Cadel Evans behind, and he's depending on a miracle. A really bad day for Vincenzo Nibali, but there's 2 big mountain stages to come, so you never know what could happen. Rigoberto Urán hangs on to his podium position, just over a minute ahead of Michele Scarponi. Good measured performance from Urán. Great second half of the time trial. Lost out to Scarponi, but still secure there on the podium. Niemetz, great performance from him as well. Micah and Betancourt swap positions overall, swap positions in the young rider classification, but just look at that, 2 seconds between them, nothing to choose, and they're set for a great scrap in the next couple of days. Sant'Ambrosio drops 2 positions, but still comfortably inside the top 10. Vignette and Schausti also still in the top 10.